tonight is when we will celebrate the career of Dr. James Laux. And Dr. Laux has been an educator for over 30 years. And tonight we'll celebrate that by making a lot of jokes at his expense. And our first roaster has worked alongside Dr. Laux in the communication department for years now. And she's best recognized for her purple hair and her unique sense of style. And that is Dr. Peace Hernandez.
Thank you. I thought I was going to have a mic, but okay. They said, you lecture all the time in the big lecture hall, so you'll be fine. So, all right, so a number of weeks ago, Chris Dahlstrom approached me, and he asked if I'd be willing to participate in a roast for Dr. Laux. I had to think about this, and I gave it some thought. What would I say? And so I got back to Chris and said, okay, after some thought, I'll do this because I like Dr. Laux. And so now I've roasted a chicken, and I've roasted beef, and I've roasted pork. And I've even roasted some jalapenos for my salsa, but I've never roasted a person. So never having roasted a person required me to do some research. So I pulled out my handy-dandy smartphone. Do you know what these are, by the way? And I opened up my dictionary app, and according to dictionary app, to roast means the following: to bake meat or other food uncovered, especially in an oven. Well, I don't know about you, but I have no desire to see Dr. Laux uncovered. The more covered, the better. And I'm pretty sure that Des would agree with me on that. How many of you know Des? Come on, you know Des. You hear about her all the time. Okay, so I thought so. So here's another definition. To cook by direct exposure to dry heat. Can you imagine what would happen if we directly exposed Dr. Laux to dry heat? At his age, do you know how tough the meat would be? Okay, here's another definition. To brown, dry, or parch by exposure to heat. Well, Dr. Laux is pretty white. I mean, look at him. I've never seen anybody so white. Perhaps a little browning would be good. And then the other definition I have is to ridicule or criticize severely and to honor with or subject to a roast. So I guess, that's what we're really here for. I have a couple of other definitions, but I'm going to wait for a little bit to share those with you. So let's focus on to ridicule or criticize severely. Many of you know me. I mean, you know me. I'm sweet Dr. Peace Hernandez. And I'm compassionate. I'm thoughtful. I'm a good teacher. Oh, a great cook, thank you. I listen to students. Sometimes I give them a study guide. I understand student needs. My goodness, if you haven't figured it out, this is why so many students want to take me over him. So this being critical stuff, this is hard for me because I would never criticize Dr. Laux for his archaic teaching methods. You see, he is a senior faculty member. Yeah, senior. Old people are set in their ways. You can't tell them anything. They'll come back with, I'm 65 years old and I can do what I want. Or, we've done it this way forever, and that's how it's going to be done. You have to remember that Dr. Laux's first lecture notes were written with some sort of writing stylus made from metal, bone, or ivory, papyrus and parchment papers, and he did his statistics for research methods on an abacus. I mean, he just received that medallion that he's wearing around his neck for working at SRU for 25 years. Well, in professor life, that's like 100. Many of you were not even born yet, and I was only about 5 years old.
What'd you do, take the square root?
I'm also very respectful when it comes when it comes to him going on and on and on and on and on and on at the faculty meetings. Oh my gosh. He goes on and on and on about how public speaking should be a face-to-face class, that we shouldn't teach online, that we have to keep the integrity of the course. He goes on and on and on about how students need a face-to-face, see you and touch you type audience, not a virtual audience. I mean, he goes on and on and on. And actually, I think he fights so much for the face-to-face class because he still has some trouble using that computer. I'm not sure he knows how to use D2L because everyone else in the comm department is using D2L, and dear Dr. Laux still having Maryland type of syllabi out. His very smart kids should maybe tutor him on the weekends. But then, I would never criticize Dr. Laux with his adventures in human communication, otherwise known as concepts, yes. So you see, Dr. Laux believes that learning about human communication should be an adventure. Dr. Laux likes adventures. I'll tell you more about that later. And then there's the happiness or happy talk class he's teaching in the fall. I'd never criticize him for that class. The university had to give it a different name so that students would think it was intellectually stimulating. That is, communication and well-being. Dr. Laux told Dr. Flynn, "I just want to teach this one more time before I retire." Dr. Flynn ran so fast to Old Main. Oh my gosh, I've never seen him run so fast, trying to get it on the books for fall. Anyway, this fall, Dr. Laux is going to teach his happiness class. He's going to explain happiness, and he's going to talk about setting goals to be happy. He will encourage students to fill their lives with as many moments of joy and passion as humanly possible. That is because he has filled his life with as many moments of joy and passion as possible. Many of you know Des. If you don't know Des, you were sleeping in his class. Because she is all he talks about. Honey this, honey that. Babe that, babe this. My love this, my love that. Des is my soulmate. The only time I take off of work is for Valentine's Day so that I can be with Des. If you didn't know this, he is like Victoria's Secret's #1 customer. Yeah, I know, yeah. And you thought old was going to be rough. Getting old was going to be, He and Des, woo! And they've been married like 100 years too, but boy. So, you know how I started with the different definitions of roast? Well, there are two that I did not mention, and here they are. To heat excessively, to warm at a hot fire. Hold that thought. It's time to tell a story. Are you ready, Jimmy?
Bring it, Chiquita.
Hey. Well, about 10 years ago, when I was just a babe in academia, in my early 20s, I was offered a tenure-track teaching position in the comm department. I remember Dr. Laux was on the search committee. You should have seen him look at me in the interview like a hungry tiger. A few days passed, and the dean called me to offer me the position. I had about a week to think about it, but a few hours later, I get a call from Jimmy. And Jimmy says, "Hello, Christine. I know that you've been offered the tenure-track position, and I wanted to call and tell you that I want you to accept the position." He wanted me to accept the position. Seems like my young Latina blood had heated him a little. I remember a while back wearing the same shawl, and Jimmy told me that I was looking exceptionally lovely. Remember that, Jimmy?
I do.
On occasion, Jimmy even walks me to class sometimes. Des might be the love of his life, but I'm the spice. I'm like the hot chili pepper. You all think we have office hours for students? When really all we're doing is doing some research about adventures in communication. Pay attention. Okay. We're doing research on how to have joy in our lives and passion. So, let me tell you a little bit about collegial relationships. Now that's roasting someone, because I'm sure he's pretty hot now. All right. That was all fun, right? We had fun. And, but I think you stick with Des, and I'll stick with Lorenzo. Plus, you don't have a sexy accent like Lorenzo does. So, all right. Dr. Laux, Jim, I would like to close by telling you that I am so glad that you encouraged me to take that faculty position. And that was about 10 years ago. And I've been very, very happy to have the opportunity to work with you, to call you my colleague, to call you my friend. And actually, I would much rather be your colleague and friend than your student. Which, I mean, honestly. You've been a great mentor. Thank you. And you've been there to encourage me when I've had doubts in myself as a young faculty member. Not so young anymore, but you still are there for me when I have doubts in myself. You listen to my frustrations when I have some of the department, and some of you students, sometimes some of you frustrate me a little bit, and Dr. Laux is there to hear me out. You've been there when I've been a little frustrated with my own life happenings. Your passion for students, your passion for knowledge, and for your life partner, even though we've heard a lot about her, but that passion that you have for her and that passion that you have for your children is extraordinary. And you're a wonderful role model for students and for all of us. And I'm so glad that you aren't retiring yet. Even though every now and then I'll hear Sim say, he's not retiring yet. Because you truly do impact my life in a positive way. And I just want to thank you for everything that you do. Thank you, Jim.
Well, that's
All right. Well, when we decided to put this night together, we wanted to get a good mix of roasters. Wanted to have some professors, some alums, some students. And our next roaster is a graduate of SRU, and he's the only Supreme Chancellor in WSRU-TV history, and one very hilarious guy, and that's Jake Libby.
So unlike PH, I didn't bring a syllabus with me to talk from. I just have this. It's single space too, that's impressive. Anyways, hi, I'm Jake. I think I'm like the 5th alumni they probably called and nobody else wanted to come. So, I'm like, whatever. But before I even get into this speech, anytime you hear an a like, or a pause, you can blame him right there, because I got public speaking with him. Only because Lee Poo and Pete Hernandez's classes were filled up. Anyways, just to, get past all that, I'm here. Anyways, I enjoyed Slippery Rock a lot. It was a lot of fun for me. Once you get past a lot of the BS around here, like the roads, and the parking, and the weather, and everyone going home, and the food, and that crap. But there's people here that make it worth it what it is. And the comm department was that for me. And I don't want to sound cheesy because I wasn't going to be a dick to everybody, but after hearing them, it seems like I should. Anyways, the comm department is what really sold it for me at Slippery Rock. It was a nice family-like community that everybody got along really well. And you could go to different teachers or students with their problems, especially teachers I see here. Like, I've talked to every single one of these ones that except Kep. Sorry, I don't know you. I was really, you don't understand how ready I was to tear into Strawler about everything, and he's not even here. So I guess Strawler doesn't work overtime on Monday, so can't have him. But I like you, so no offense. And I heard you're better than him anyway, so. Anyways, I had Dr. PH for 3 or 4 classes, I think, and she was definitely one of my favorite teachers here, because she listened and she was passionate about it. And her passion sometimes got me in trouble because I grew up in a very hick area and I wasn't really exposed to different cultures. So it was definitely a culture shock, especially when I said "you people" in front of her one time. And I got torn a new one. But it wasn't as bad as that time the girl in the front of the class asked her what the differences between the languages of Mexican and Spanish was, and I thought she was gonna kill her. That girl, I guess it's true. Anybody can get into Slippery Rock. No, I do love you a lot. And I wish I would have came prepared with more hurtful things, but you're just so nice that I can't do it. But hey, for future reference, anybody in here that takes her, if you're having like a really bad day and you don't want to do anything in class, mention Lorenzo. 45 minutes, tops. I think I know more about Lorenzo than Lorenzo knows about Lorenzo. Sorry, I love you. Anyway, Doug, I like Doug. I don't know if many of you people know Doug. He's not really popular. But when I first met Doug, I thought he was like the weirdest kid ever. But like everybody's weird. That's what makes you unique. And then I really got to know Doug and found out that I'm really good at judging books by covers because Doug is super weird. But it's a good weird, because I used to love seeing the stuff that him and Colin would come up with in the TV studio, and then I would go home and show my friends and not show the credits and pass it off as my own. But his stuff, I like it a lot. It was really great meeting him. It was awesome. And then I had Alyssa, but Alyssa's not here. shame. So I wasn't going to say anything mean about her. I like her. Cameron, I'm not even going to talk about you. And then my man of the hour, Dr. Laux. I wasn't even supposed to have Dr. Laux my first year. It just so happened that Dr. Pastor, was that his name? He left for North Carolina? He left, and then Stuart went over, and then you picked up the Comm Research Methods class, and I could hate Pastor for that now, because I would have rather had Stuart. But for my time, Comm Research Methods was probably one of the hardest classes I had here at Slippery Rock. And I wasn't even really sure who Dr. Laux was when I got the class list. So I went to Rate My Professor, which is by far the worst website in the world, and he is the one that has opened my eyes to that. But I think he only hates it because every single thing on there is a negative rating, and he doesn't have a spicy pepper next to his name. Unlike you and Chase repping the department with the spicy peppers. But no, so the first thing I did was I asked my neighbor across the hall. I have this Dr. Laux guy or something. I call him Jim now, we're tight. But I was like, I got this Dr. Laux guy. Do you know anything about him? And the first thing he said was run. He's like, just run. He's like, you don't want to do it. It's like, it's going to be the worst thing of your life. It's hard. The papers are hard. And damn, that paper was hard. And I cheated. Not like plagiarism cheated. I got the future editor of the Rocket as my partner. So I had someone who writes like semi-professionally or whatever you want to call the paper. But that wasn't a stab at the paper. I like the paper. I read the paper. I'm like the one reader, so you guys can't get mad at me. So, go TV studio, always. And so I took the class, and the paper was hard and all that, but my favorite part of the class, and I'll never forget it, was one morning I decided to oversleep because I had too much fun on a Thursday night. And my phone rings early. I'm looking at it. It's Courtney, my partner. Oh, what's wrong? Wait, that's going to be Dr. Laux. I'm not picking that up. I've seen that trick before. I ain't falling for it. I'm ahead of the curve. So, all of a sudden, ding, voicemail. All right. And to this day. Dear Mr. Jake Libby, imagine that you are Dancing with the Stars, and your partner, Courtney, is about to go out there and perform. But wait, she doesn't have a partner. However, would she be able to dance on her own? You not showing up to my class this morning is equivalent. Now, I'm a mean dancer, don't get me wrong, I break it down, but I don't think that dancing and class has anything to do with each other. But I will tell you that I don't know why. It might have been because I was still looped from last night. But I drove to class, and I was at his 9 a.m. class to come in and apologize to him because I felt so terrible about missing his class. So I don't know what it was about him, but he got me somehow. And I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't know how to transition into it, but I had to talk about your ghost stories that you always tell. Because I had you like 3 times, and like I would mess with people in the back of the room. I'd be like, I bet it was just some blinking light outside. And then he'd be like, it was a blinking light outside. How did you know that? Verbatim. They're all the same. I love them though. They were great. Especially, I tell everybody about the ping pong with going on about those ghost shows. Like, yeah, I'd go play ping pong. They ain't gonna touch me. I'd sue them. It's a good idea. Thank you for giving me that. So, in closing, I just wanted to say that in my tenure at Slippery Rock, which I wish could have lasted a little longer, but I broke, I was really glad to have you a bunch of times. You were a great person, a great professor. You were hard, but you were hard in a good way. You didn't let kids slack off. You didn't let them, get by just by the skin of their teeth. You made them work for their grades, and I really enjoyed that, even though I hated it at the time. And I just want you to know that you were so influential that for like 2 months after your class, I kept saying mind you to people. I don't know why. I'd like be in the middle. I could be at like the bar or something, be like, man, this burger's really good. Mind you though, I had a really good burger last year. The only thing I was missing was the turned around desk in like that awkward sit where it looks like the desk's gonna break. But in all realness, no, thank you for everything you've done. Thank you, everyone, for putting this on. Thank you for coming out. It was really great to meet everybody and see everybody.
All right. Is everybody having fun? We're enjoying this? All right. Our next roaster, he is a current Slippery Rock student. He's a communication major. and he plays a very prominent role in the TV studio, and he is Doug Drew. Come on.
Let's give it up one more time for the Kool-Aid Man that went right before me. Also, just a heads up, Jake Leiby only... Yeah, I will admit, I am dressed like a fancy waiter tonight. So, also, Mr. Leiby here, probably the only Jacksonville Jaguars fan you will ever see in your life. We have 2 cheerleaders here on the panel tonight. Go figure, they're doing their part together. Maybe, not gonna, I don't know what their act is, maybe they'll spell something together. So, we can hope for the best. Laux, 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 Laux. If any of you have had Mr. Keppel here, Mr. Keppel, because he's not a doctor yet, he always starts class off with a story, usually involving his personal life. Some of them are just humorous, some of them are a little embarrassing, and a lot of them involve his newborn son. Yeah, Alan. What sucks for Alan's future is that anytime he brings a friend or maybe a girlfriend over, is that I'm sure Keppel will just embarrass them and make them never want to come over again. But hey, that's what dads do. Dr. PH, as we all know, very nice lady, but she actually goes to the Y with my sister and dad, and she does not sound like she's as nice when she's teaching spin class. So if she ever asks you to join one of her spin classes, she's not gonna be quite as cheerful about it, by what I've heard. Also, that her bit earlier, more like 50 Shades of Purple, right? Yeah, I know. I only had Dr. Laux once for comm concepts, or as it's called in his class, Adventures in Human Communication. And I believe he mentioned that he doesn't own a cell phone. Is that still true? All right, well, everyone brace yourself, because I'm about to embarrass myself doing a Jerry Seinfeld impression. But Dr. Laux, he's a doctor in communication and doesn't even have a cell phone. What's up with that? But even though I only had him once, right off the bat in the class, you can't not respect the man. He always comes in cheerful. He's very helpful to all of his students if they approach him. And he just it was one of my first communication classes, and I'd never just respected someone so fast just from hearing them talk and just set up the rules in a classroom. And because it was fun and it was an interesting course, it helped me stay with communication since I actually started out undeclared here, and the TV station, which I'm obviously a 4-year member now. Same with our president up there at the camera. I'm glad I stuck with it, and if you haven't had Laux yet, which that would be a little weird if you came and haven't yet, I I suggest it. He's great. He's nice. He's fun. Dr. Laux, everyone.
All right, we're gonna take a quick commercial break. It's just gonna be a couple minutes. Usually, you guys don't have to like leave or anything. It's gonna be a couple minutes, and then we'll resume after just a couple minutes. So, hang tight, guys. All right.
Hi, welcome to the Grove.
The Grove features amenities that no other off-campus apartments can offer. Our 2, 3, and 4-bedroom apartments are fully furnished with a desk, full-size bed, dresser, nightstand, dining room set, kitchen with all appliances, and a washer and dryer for each apartment. It also includes a private walk-in closet and bathroom. All utilities are included in your lease. We are a fully gated community with on-site maintenance, security, and management. We are also pet-friendly, so bring your furry friends with you. Life at the Grove will also include a resort-style swimming pool, free coffee bar, a volleyball court, 24-hour gym, and tanning, with so much more to offer. For more information, stop by today and talk with a friendly employee for a free tour and consultation. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Hi, my name is Erica, and I work here as a team member at Rockin' Yogurt, and I'm also a student at Slippery Rock. We were established in May of 2013. We offer different flavors of yogurt. We are located on Main Street of Slippery Rock and are right across the street from North Country Brewery. We have traditional flavors like vanilla and chocolate, and we also offer unique flavors like cinnamon, maple bacon donut, pumpkin, and blueberry.
All right, guys. Our next roasters, they're both seniors here at SRU, and as Doug mentioned earlier, they're both a part of the Rock cheerleading squad, and they also have some special footage to show you guys of Dr. Laux, so I hope you're all prepared. Kristen Karam and Linnea Bradshaw.
Well, contrary to what was said, we're not actually going to spell things. We decided to come together so that we can do skits because we feel to really appreciate the atmosphere of being in a class with Dr. Laux, you have to see what it's like from the student perspective and seeing our reactions to kind of what he does. We're getting this video here, it's great. So we were going to dress up like you, but we weren't sure what to do with our hair, so that didn't happen. Sorry. We'll get to how this all happened in a minute, but we'll start with organizational communication.
Okay, so stop watching. How many of you have Dr. Laux for organizational communication? Okay, how many of you have actually learned about organizational communication? So, we're going to show you how Dr. Laux acts in organizational communication class because you don't learn anything about organizational communication. In this instance, I'm Dr. Laux. And I'm Linnea.
Welcome to class, everyone. Today, my wife, she's doing great. We went to dinner last night. She almost went with the salad, but she did not. So my kids, they're still doing great. They're so successful. Did you know they have 8 majors and 16 minors? Still have a 4.0. How are you guys doing?
So are you going to talk about the paper that says you today?
In the second year, did you know that last night we went to the movies? And she did not. She did not want to see what I wanted to see.
That's seriously how he acts. Okay, so next we're going to talk about research methods. Okay, I didn't have a research method.
I did. How many of you have actually had research methods with Dr. Laux?
Still alive.
Still alive, we all made it, thank goodness. I went into that class as a sophomore, and my roommate at the time had the class before me. All I heard was, good luck, you're going to hate your life at times, and don't say, I don't know. So, you walk into class, and he hands you this little note card. Most classes know, you have to write, I don't know, and this is my makeshift little part here. And you're scared out of your mind because I don't know anything about research methods heading into that class. So this is our skit of what it's like to go through the terror of that class.
Hey, I'm Dr. Laux. Jesus, this is the same exact thing that happens in organizational communication. So, there's my wife. I love her so much. My kids, oh my God, the 7.0 understand. Oh my God, they smell so good. I love her. So, what do you know about common research methods?
I have no idea.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And you're scared out of your mind. And sometimes he gave it back to me and was like, you get this one. This is your get out of jail free card. And I don't know if he actually ever kept anyone's card and actually penalized them for it, but you were scared the entire class when you go to.
Okay, so I have him as an advisor. I'm lucky enough to have him. Just kidding, I'm lucky to have him as an advisor. And he, the first time I ever had him as an advisor, I went into him and I was like, when do we sign up for the advisor meeting? He was like, well, you're an adult now, so we don't sign up anymore. And I was like, okay, so when are we having the meeting? This is kind of a setup of what the advisor meetings are like with Dr. Laux. I'm me, she's Dr. Laux.
Well, Annette, what are you taking this semester?
Okay, well, I'm thinking about taking common research methods, what do you think?
What does this sign say?
Advisor of the year.
What does this sign say?
Advisor of the year again.
Yeah, you're okay.
Literally would show me all of his awards. It's like student of the month. I'm like, okay, dude.
This clip that we have behind us is actually something that we worked very hard to get accomplished. This all started, you can explain in organizational communication.
Wait, in organizational communication, again, we did talk about organizational communication, obviously, because this is what happened. So, one day somebody mentioned to him about doing the Dougie, and then he asked me if I could teach him how, and I kept saying no, and he would catch me in the hallway, and I was trying to run away. He'd be like, so when are you teaching me the Dougie? I'm like, I gotta go talk to her. I swear, and he would go to Kristen and say she didn't teach me to do the Dougie again. I literally, like, am I gonna have to get her saying where again? I was afraid he literally was gonna bump her and go, so you gonna teach me the Dougie?
Just teach me the damn dance.
So one day we taught him the Dougie in the equipment room, and he was like, wait, this is it? I've been doing it all along and my hair blows.
Yeah, I think I had to beg Linnea to actually do it because as soon as she told me the story, I was adamant about telling her to teach Dr. Laux the Dougie because this, as you can see, is epic and does not happen very often.
He followed me for months, I swear.
Next thing we have is, I think it's actually ironic that this whole thing happens on Monday because I remember one day the weather was much like today. It was awful and it was just one of those Mondays where you don't want to go to class. And I'm walking through the department and Dr. Laux is like, TGIM! Like, it's not, it's Monday. This guy is the only one in the world, I think, that likes Mondays and gets more excited for a Monday than a Friday, which makes sense if he wants to teach his happiness class because maybe he's going to try to get more people to be happy on Mondays. I'm not sure if that's one of the sessions in there for you.
Okay. Alright. Well, going back to the advisor meeting one time, I went in there, I think this is around Halloween, it was more recent, and we get done with our advisor meeting, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna say well. He said, so, Linnea, I was thinking, we could dress up, and I'm like, what the hell are you saying? And I'm gonna be, Denzel Washington, and you go for a Halle Berry. I'm like, how about no? But to wrap it up, I've never been pushed so hard by you, and you actually helped me a lot because I did switch majors, and you pretty much guided me to become the student I am today. And I do appreciate you a lot, and I want to thank you for that.
And for me, those of you that have had research methods, you can probably back up what I'm saying. I've never worked harder for an A in my life, and I knew as soon as I got that A back, I just felt so good about myself for getting that A. So I thank you for, I think that was the first grade I ever had to, I couldn't coast through, I couldn't just get by, and I really had to work for it. So I thank you a lot.
They've seen it.
All right, well, we are on to our last roaster of the night. He's also a professor in the comm department who, as you heard earlier, is known for his stories at the beginning of his classes. He is Mr. Keppel.
I want to thank you all for coming. I know like 12 people here. I like about 10 of them. I'm kidding, I hate about 10 of them. Especially him. I don't like him either. So I guess I should start with my fellow roasters. I don't know him. But I saw in the program, he looks like an idiot. I don't really have anything to say about Dr. Peace Hernandez. I was a student here when she was teaching. And quite frankly, I'm afraid of her husband. He's a big dude. Plus, she can yell at me in like 2 languages, and I don't understand 1.5 of them. I have nothing to say about the 2 on the end, except that their acting is horrible. My exposure to Mr. Leiby was at the very beginning of this, when he started quoting lines from 8 Mile in sequential order. He pretty much rapped the entire final battle. He did it wrong. Mr. Drew, I've had Mr. Drew in class. He's staring failure in the face. How does it look? Then there's an empty chair. That was my spot. So for those of you who know me, you know that I like to start off my classes with a story. And I have one about Dr. Laux. Because when I was a student here, he was a professor. And I actually had him for both organizational communication and research methods. You've heard how both of them went. But he walked in on the first day, and he was a jerk. He scared everyone. And on the next day, he came in, and he was reading the roll. And when he got done, he said, "Now that all the weak students have dropped the class, let's have fun." He lied. It didn't get better after that. In fact, the stress got so great that by the end of the semester, I had written my final research methods paper, and I was gonna get it back, but I had worked myself into such a stressful frenzy that I had to receive my grade with a migraine. Even though I got an A, I didn't feel relieved, because my head hurt, and it was his fault. And now I hear that he's teaching a class in happiness. Which I find shocking considering the pain and anguish you've brought to so many students for so many years. I feel like he should call his classes shock and awe. Because when you see his tests, you're like, wow, I didn't think it would be this hard. And then when you see your grade, it's like, oh, I studied for 3.5 weeks and it wasn't enough. Maybe I should have gone for 4. When's the withdrawal period? Over. It ended yesterday. Damn it. I have to wonder what it's like for Dr. Laux because he's seen so many students come and go. And now there's students like me who are coming back, no longer as a student, but as a peer and colleague. It must be rough. The faculty in the department are getting younger, and don't worry, I know that, as Dr. Pease Hernandez would say, there's this thing with collegiality. I'm not going to dance for you. I only have a tie to swing around. The reality of the situation is that while I make fun of Dr. Laux a little bit, most of it's true. I can't think of a professor in the department whose classes I enjoyed more, primarily because I have a feeling that I'm a self-diagnosed sociopath, and I think that helps. Seriously, I practice emotions. This is what I look like sad. I had to practice recently for a funeral. But the thing of it is that I really do love Dr. Laux. He's a fantastic professor. He's my mentor. He's my former advisor. And as advisors can attest, or advisees can attest, once an advisee, always an advisee. So help you God. But I've enjoyed my time with Dr. Laux. And even though he's only teaching for 1 more semester, he will be missed. Thank you.
All right. This time, Dr. Laux would like to come up and say a few words. So here is your man of the hour, Dr. Laux.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this. And let's see. I have an idea. Let's play a game. Let's play Hangman. You know that game, don't you? It's like that. So the word that we're going after has 5 letters, and it completes this phrase. Paybacks are a... Okay, now... Who would like to guess a letter? Anyone want to guess a letter? Yes, yes. Excellent. B is in the word. Actually, it's the very first letter. Anybody else? Anybody want to buy a vowel? Yes. Why, how about that? It goes right in the second slot. Well, anybody ready to guess? So, paybacks are... So, I know now is my turn to exchange pithy barbs with the roasters here. And, but I'm not going to. I thought I'd tell you a secret about me, and then I'll make a short statement, maybe omitting Des from it. Or not. So here's the secret about me. This actually embarrasses me. I'm very self-conscious, I'm a little bit shy, and I don't like to be the center of attention. Well, except, of course, when I'm teaching. But I was listening to a presentation by Tal Ben-Shahar, the Harvard professor who taught Introduction to Positive Psychology at Harvard, and it's somewhat the basis of the happiness class that I'm going to be teaching in the fall, except my class has a communication twist to it. But he said that the first time he taught it, he had 8 people in the class and 2 of them dropped. So he wound up with 6. And then the second time he taught it, he said that through word of mouth and etc., the student enrollment did go up a little bit, 300. And then the third time he taught it, it increased again to more than 900, the most popular class in the entire history of Harvard University. Well, I don't got 3 shots at it, I have 1. And it's not going to get to 300. But my homie over here, she's trying to help me get to 97, or 93. I think that's the capacity of the class. But he said that he said as soon as it got to 900, the media picked this up because it had now overtaken economics as the most popular class at Harvard. And he said, remember, we are talking about Harvard, right? And so he said the media, and so then he had a series of interviews. And he said that every interview it started off with great promise, but it ended on kind of a downer. He said, like, he went into this first interview, and it was with one of the national media, and he said he thought it had gone very well. He'd explained this class and etc. And he said, and in the end of the interview, the producer of it's walking him out, and he said, well, that was really interesting. He said, I must say, you're really not, you were sort of a surprise. You're not like what we expected. And they said, gee, not expected how? Like, how was I different? And he said, well, we thought that you'd be a lot more sort of like outgoing and extroverted. He said, oh, well. So he said, second interview, also with a national media outlet, etc. He said, everything went swimmingly. Interview's over, they're walking out. And he said, well, you know, this was really good, but you're not really what we expected. And he said, well, not expected how? And the interviewer said, well, we thought you'd be sort of like more dynamic and charismatic than you are. And so he said, third interview, again, seemed to go well. They're walking out. The director of the show said, you're not really what we expected. Same kind of routine, you know? He said, so now he's like in his umpteenth interview, and it's with one of the Boston media's newspaper, TV, or something like that. And he said they're walking out, and he said, and sure enough, here it comes again. He says, you know, now my self-concept is like crushed, but it's an all-time low. And he said, interviewer again says, you know, that sounds very fascinating and interesting. That was really, you know, that was interesting. He says, but you're not really what we expected. And he said, not expected how? And he said, well, we thought you'd be taller. He was only 5'7". So he said, so let's see, I'm teaching this class, and they thought I'd be more outgoing, more dynamic, more charismatic, less shy, and taller to be teaching this class. And then he said, it just sort of pointed out to him that their expectations were violated because they were looking at the wrong thing. They were looking at the messenger as to what made his happiness class popular. He said, they're looking at the messenger. He said, they missed it entirely. They needed to look at the message. So, I'm actually a kind of shy person. But, you see, I've got a message. Whether it's research methods or OrgCom or Adventures in Human Communication, or public speaking, I'm trying to get across a message, and the message is basically this: you can be better than you thought you could. And I know that from my own personal experience, because neither of my parents went to college. My father didn't even graduate from high school. So I was the first, and as a matter of fact, still the only Laux to even go to college, let alone get a degree from it. And I liked it so much, I simply have never left. So if you came off the slippery rock and your parents were not sort of like college educated, any of you in that situation, your first generation, that's me too. So those of you who actually had like parents who went to college and graduated from college and et cetera, it's sort of like, and more power to you, because you had somebody who kind of blazed the trail a little bit. I did not, and I've always sort of tried to keep keenly in my mind the fact that I want to give you the same opportunity that I had. And I've tried insofar as I'm capable of doing that. So, David, you actually gave me the perfect setup, because I was going to head here anyway, but I was going to have to create my own transition. But you said near the end of your remarks there, just to show you I was listening when you guys were talking. You don't know how it might feel for me to have you, as a former student, as now a colleague who calls me Jim and teaches classes down the hallway from me, and etc. Loudly. I'm afraid he may have been encouraged to do that from me. I don't know. Well, it makes me feel wonderful. It makes me feel great. I fancy myself not Denzel Washington, who I know I'm a dead ringer for. Come on now.
It's uncanny.
Isn't it? I don't fancy myself Denzel Washington. I fancy myself Michelangelo. But Michelangelo worked with marble, and I work with you. So you're my material. Thank you. And he carved, wow, the Pieta, and David, and not that one. Let's not lay that on him. So, Chris, Dr. Peace Hernandez is exactly correct, and that is she came and interviewed here about 10 years ago. And when I met her and talked with her, I said to myself, we're going to hire that person if I have anything to say about it, and I'm on the committee. Why? Because she's friendly, she's effusive, she's smart, she's student-centered, she's exactly what our students need, and by God, we hired her. So, Chris, the other students here, and most of you have given me a wonderful opportunity to do what I love to do, teach. And how do I feel when I see you succeed, get an A on an exam, including research methods, go on to become tenured faculty here, go on to get advanced degrees from other places, or get employment and do something good in this world? I feel great. Thank you.
I just wanted to take a second to thank the Grove for sponsoring this. They provided the food and the drinks that you guys all saw when you came in. And I also wanted to thank Chris Dahlstrom. He's the vice president of the TV station. He's basically responsible for this whole event even happening. And Chris would like to come up and say a few words to you guys before we adjourn for the evening.
All right, I'm gonna keep this short, sweet, to the point, because I think I'm pretty shy. I don't think shy is the right word I would use for Dr. Laux. But whenever I was putting this event together, I was just thinking about how can I bring this communication department together and have a good, solid, fun night. And I know everyone in here appreciates Dr. Laux as much as I do. And whenever I heard that he was retiring, I was like, wow, that guy definitely had a huge impact on my life. And he's definitely, in my eyes, one of the most influential professors that I've ever had. So I came up with this idea, talked to some people, coordinated the event, and I'm really glad that this went so well. And I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy everyone came. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Dr. Laux.
Yeah, like Chris said, thank you everyone for coming out. Hope you guys had fun. And that is all we have for you guys tonight. I hope you enjoyed it.